Good afternoon, Santa Clarita. This is Jesus Henao of Leola Commercial, and welcome to the Commercial Hour. Be in the know your city. If you're thinking about owning or selling apartments, an industrial building, or shopping center, you're in the right place. We talk commercial real estate, live the American dream, put on your jersey, sweatband, get in the game. We're here every Monday from 12 to 1, KHTS 1220, FM 98.1. Today we're going to be talking about leasing. We have Anne Sichel from Toll Partners coming in. We're going to be talking, so we're waiting for her to call in. But before we get there, I want to talk about some deals happening around town. One in specific is a apartment building. I actually know this owner on Newhall Avenue. It's a 36-unit building, about 38,000 square feet, and it's selling at a 4.41 cap. Now, if you remember from months past when we talked about cap rate, what is cap rate? Cap rate is the cash-on-cash return on your investment if I were to buy it all cash. So if I took $8.9 million, I had that sitting in my bank account. Believe me, I wouldn't be hanging around in Santa Clarita. Well, yes, I would. I'd be on vacation somewhere right now, just chilling somewhere, enjoying life. I would take, if I took that $8.9 million, I put it in the bank, that would be the return on my investment. That's the interest rate the bank would give me. But we all know that the bank doesn't give that type of return on investment. It's probably more of a 0.25, or what they call 0.25 basis points, toward 25 basis points. That's the vernacular of the industry, and that's what I get. So what do I do with that $8.9 million? I buy this property. It's going to be selling, or it's on the market now for about $247 a unit, and about $232 a square foot. Now, what all those numbers mean? Well, it means that at $247, and we talked about this last week, it cost around, I think our hypothetical was in our construction analysis, it came out to almost $400 per unit to build 20 units, which is double of this price. And you're buying this building. It's built in 1960. Yes, it's a little older, but why would you buy this? You'd buy this because Santa Clarita has no rent control. So depending on where the rents are, and we'll take a quick look and see where the rents are in this building, but if I look at the rents, if the rents are low, I can raise rents. I can get a 4% return on my money. Let me just take a quick look here. I'll tell you what's going on with this property. Actually, this owner bought this building a while back. He rehabbed it, did some work. It has looking at this now, it has a very good unit mix. They're all 2-bedroom, 2 baths. And he's averaging about $1,600 for the 2 bedrooms, which is commensurate with what's in the area. And you could probably get those rents for 2 bedrooms up to $1,750, maybe $1,800 a month. So good deal here. So that is available. If you want to know more about it, please give me a call. Usually properties that sell in Newhall go really fast, super fast. So that's a building to look at. In addition to that, there's a couple other properties for sale around the radio station. Believe it or not, there's a retail space built in 1976. Leanne's online. No, am I talking somewhere? What's going on? He's over here giving me hands eyes. I'm like, what's going on? So I was looking away, I guess. Well, there's a retail place here on Walnut Street also for sale. This one's about 1,800 square feet. They're asking $584,000 for this project. So if you're looking for, as you're an owner-user, you want to move your office, etc., not a bad deal to get into. And that's right here in Newhall. If you don't know what's going on out here in Newhall, Old Town Newhall, you got to come down here and take a look, because if we look down the street, you'll see that the Newhall crossing is going up fast. It's going up really fast. If you look at it now, what they call a podium built. It's if you look at it as a table, you have the table, and that's the podium, and all under is all the retail. And what's the crazy thing is now the apartments are going up, so you can really see it starting to take shape. And next year, what do we have? How many more months we have left? We have like 3 months left in the year. Yeah, so it's almost here. So this is a hot area. If you're looking to buy out here, there's some pretty good investments up here. In addition to that, There's another office building. It's about 12,000 square feet. They're asking about $2.8 million for it, and that's right around the corner from the DMV. And now look at the cap rate on this. This is a 6.17. So just comparing to what is on the market of the apartment building, you're buying that for about a 4.41. This one, you're buying it for about a six cap. So you can see that apartments are a lot hotter. She's on the phone. Okay, perfect. We'll get Leon in a second. So you can see that the retail or the office building is getting a little bit better returns on your money. So perfect for an owner user if you want to open up your office here. Again, you're right next to downtown Newhall, next to the library, the Newhall Crossing. There's a lot of activity. I predict it's going to be a hot corner. So we have Leanne on the line. We're going to bring her in. Leanne, how are you?
Fine. How are you? Thank you for calling me.
Oh, thank you for calling in. I appreciate it. And Leanne, now I have a hard time pronouncing the last name. How do I exactly say your last name?
Sichel.
Sichel. Now I've heard a couple of variations from it, so I wanted to make sure. I wanted to make sure I didn't butcher it.
Thank you.
But we have Leanne. She's with Toll Partners, and I've been working with her in a couple of transactions. And Leanne, just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in the business. I know you've done a lot of work in Santa Clarita. Tell us about how you got started in the business.
I actually got started in the business because my husband was a developer, and I started out selling condominiums in West Hollywood, and then I went to some leasing in Beverly Hills and West LA and the greater Los Angeles area, and I really liked it. And then I moved to Santa Clarita, and I think that's when my career started in leasing and sales. It was just an amazing, it was an amazing journey because when I moved there was no mall. So
Really?
I've seen a lot of growth. There were a lot of horseback riders and, people who love nature, and it was an amazing place. It was a great place for my daughter to go to school, and I think that just understanding Santa Clarita and its growth has just been an amazing journey for me.
Well, speaking of horseback riding, I was trying to get on the freeway over the weekend, and I was going through Sylmar, and what I saw some guy on a horse on the streets, and I said, "Wow, look at that! That's very interesting. There's something you don't see every day."
No, Sylmar and Lake Bucyrus, big horse country. So, it's big horse country. So horses are a big part of people's lives in Santa Clarita.
That's great. I know. I am petrified of horses, even though I'm Marine. I don't like anything I can't control. That thing is huge, and I just think, hey, it's going to run me over. Why even get near it? Forget it. I'll just get in my car or a train.
That's funny. Much easier ride. Yeah, much easier ride. That's really funny.
But my daughters love the horse. She was somewhere over the weekend with somebody had a horse, and she's hugs them, and I'm like, man, I'm fine where I'm at. I'm far away. I'm good.
There's definitely a connection between people and horses. When you have it, and it's kind of a bug. My father said genetically defective, but I prefer it to. Yeah, I think it just goes with loving animals.
Great.
So,
So let's talk a little bit about leasing. How have you seen? I mean, you came from Beverly Hills, and you were doing some leasing there and some condominium sales. How was that market different from Santa Clarita?
It's really different. The people are a little bit more formal. In Santa Clarita, it's a little bit, originally, it was a little bit more laid back and much more friendly, I would say. I love the atmosphere. In Beverly Hills, it was a professional marketplace where people were used to, leasing and selling and buying and, and talking and going out to lunch and, doing deals over lunch and everything. And this was back in the 80s. And in Santa Clarita, we were in growth mode, and it was more of going to the city and the town and, watching it go from the country to formalizing it as a city. And there was Newhall Land and Farm, and, things were just, I think it was being part of shaping a community and then watching that community become Santa Clarita, not just Newhall, Valencia, Saugus and Canyon Country, but actually coming together as a unit and watching the community grow and seeing young people have affordable housing and things like that. Whereas in Beverly Hills, it was expensive. It was expensive for a lot of people to live, especially young people who didn't have the income.
It's still expensive, by the way.
Oh, you think?
very expensive.
Yeah, well, you're 100% right.
I before you came on, I was talking about an apartment building that just is on the market on Newhall, here in Newhall on Walnut,
Uh-huh.
and I was looking at the cap rate. It's like a 4.41. If that same building was for sale in Beverly Hills, it would be like a 2 cap rate. I mean,
Yes, if you were lucky. Yeah.
if you're lucky,
Yeah.
yeah.
If you were lucky, and depending on where it is. I mean, even if you were to go to West LA outside of Beverly Hills, you would still find that same scenario, I believe. So it's, well, look at your properties that you've listed in Santa Monica. They were heart-stopping. So
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's like a 1 cap rate, but people still buying it. That's the crazy part. And
well,
and why do you think people? By the way, why do you think people buy it at such a high price over there in Beverly Hills or Santa Monica?
when I worked in West LA, I think I worked in a brokerage firm that sold a lot of apartment buildings. And there was one thing that always stood out, one of our managers said, was that people always need a place to live. So I think that when you buy something that someone has to have a place to live, depending on where their job or they want to be in a certain demographic or whatever, they're going to spend a little bit more money, or maybe a lot more money just to achieve the ability to be able to live where they want and shop where they want and be where they want. I think that's just incredibly important to a lot of people.
I
So
think
they're going to go the distance.
And there's another dynamic that we haven't talked about that I think plays a big part is if I'm working in Century City or I'm working in the area and I would not want to live in Santa Clarita and get on that 405 or 5 freeway to get into work. It's funny. My wife left this morning. She left the house at 5:30 this morning.
Right.
She has some business in Pacific Palisades. And her appointment was at 10, by the way, in the morning. I said, why are you leaving so early? She said, if I don't get on the freeway by 5:30, I'm done. I'm a 3-4 hour drive.
Right.
And she went down there. She got ready, went down there and just parked somewhere. I think she went into a Starbucks and opened up her computer, sent some emails, and there you go. But that's another reason why you have a lot of business there in that Beverly Hills area, West LA, Santa Monica, and people, and they're high-paying jobs, so people will pay that extra rent. And you said it right. They want to live there because they don't want to get killed with commute. They want to be close to the beach. They want to have that Beverly Hills nightlife atmosphere, and they'll pay the price.
Well, they pay the price not only in not having to drive, but you pay a price as far as the rents go compared to if you lived in Santa Clarita. So you have to weigh your options. Do you want to drive an hour and a half minimum?
No.
Or,
No.
No. To me, I wanted to live in Santa Clarita. I didn't want to drive to Beverly Hills anymore, and I didn't want to live where everybody was living on top of each other. And I felt that I had no space issues in Santa Clarita. You could actually have a backyard, and I could have an apple tree, and my daughter could walk to school. And those things were really, really important to me, whereas I didn't feel as comfortable in the Beverly Hills, Santa Monica area. And I'm glad I moved out there. It was a great experience.
If money wasn't an object, I think that I still would not move to live in the Beverly Hills. I have a friend who has a home there. His kids go to school there, and he says, wouldn't you like to live out here? And I said, no way would I love that. No way. I couldn't do it. It's crowded, and I just don't like that atmosphere. This is truly the hometown station that we're on. This is what it feels like. It's the real home atmosphere, and that's what I like about Santa Clarita. So let's talk about leasing. What was your first leasing deal you did?
The first leasing deal, actually, I have to laugh. It was I think with Westwood Financial, one of the first ones I did in the city of Bell at Chunky Cheese. And I really didn't really know that much about it. Fortunately, I was able to get through it. The other broker on the other side, was instrumental in letting me do everything. So that was a good learning experience. And, gosh, it was so many years ago. But it was one of the first deals I did, and really proud deal. I think it was 22 cents a square foot plus triple net charges. Yeah, it was amazing.
Cheap.
It was amazing. Yeah, cheap, but it was the first major pizza place to come into that city, as I understood it. I could be wrong, but as I understood it was years ago.
All right, let's compare and contrast. 22 cents a square foot, Chuck E. Cheese. How many square feet? 4,000 square feet? 5,000 square feet?
I want to say 6 or 7. I think it was 6 or 7,000 square feet. I think it was a bigger deal.
So right now, what 22 cents a square foot way back when. What about now? What do you think that rent per square foot would be?
I think in the city of Bell, which I have not researched, to be honest with you, but I would say it would have to be for 6,000 or 7,000 square feet, somewhere in the $27 to $57 range, maybe a little bit less.
Wow.
Yeah, I think in the city of Bell, it depends on the area and if it's been built up or whatever. But, if it's going to be it depends. Is it going to be a 10-year lease, or is it going to be a 15-year lease? Or are you going to, have options to, pay a percentage of the gross? So it just depends. It depends on how you set up the lease.
Got it. It's funny. I was at Chuck E. Cheese over the weekend, and I was hanging in there. And, we talked about it. I actually, I was talking to Leanne over the weekend, and I sent her a picture, and it was me with this giant rat. And I said, "What do you think I'm at?" And she says, "Oh, you're at a football game." I said, I don't know. I don't know a football team with the mascot of a rat, which I thought was hilarious.
I think I summoned up the Patriots and Tom and Bill is what I really said. I'm just joking around, and then I sat there and I looked at it, and I had to call my sister over to figure out where it was because I haven't been in Chuck E. Cheese for a while.
I love
That's
Chuck E.
pretty
Cheese.
funny.
The pizza's pretty good, but yeah, I said no. I remember texting you back. No, I'm at Chuck E. Cheese, which I thought was hilarious. It's funny that your first deal was Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, it was really one of my first deals. Yeah.
So let's talk about the leasing process. So okay, I want to open up I don't know, say Jesus's cheese pizza joint. Okay.
Okay.
And I want to open it up. And what do I come to you and I say, Leanne, hey, I saw this place. It looks really cool. As a matter of fact, let's just use hypothetically. It's here at the New Hall Crossing, and they're just putting it up. And, hey, I want to open up Chuck E. Cheese in here. I think it'll be great because I think Santa Clarita only has one Chuck E. Cheese. One? Yeah, I think there's only one Chuck E. Cheese, and I was there over the weekend. So I want to go to Chuck E. Cheese. I want to open it up here in New Hall. What do I do? I have a couple of, I have $1 million in my pocket. I'm going to go in the rat cheese business. And what do? I call you up and I say, Leanne, I want to do this.
Well, that's a pretty specific order. It's not like opening your own office like a law firm or a CPA. So, let's just call a restaurant. And you have to be concerned with a few items before you get into the restaurant business. Now, I don't know what your background is in pizza serving, and I don't know what your plan is as far as having funds are going to serve you. You have $1 million.
I have $1 million, and I have the best pizza in Santa Clarita.
Okay. First thing I would suggest that you do is write a business plan and outline in your business plan exactly, how much your utilities are going to be, and you can find that out kind of basically through calling the local utility companies. And I would want to know where your money is going to be, like how much do you plan on tenant improvements, how much is your rent, and how much can you put away. Let's say, yes, you do have $1 million. Is it all liquid, or is it part, is it in mutual funds or whatever that have to be cashed out, or how is your, finances? And are you going to have a loan going in? I don't know that, some people want an SBA loan, and SBA loans can take a little bit of time. So having said that about your business plan, you want to set it up like a real business plan. So when you go to a landlord, you say, this is my business plan. This is my financial situation. I have $1 million. The first thing the landlord's going to say is, well, that's nice. Let's see where your $1 million is. So he's going to want to kind of check out your financial history because when you open a restaurant, it's a very expensive venture. So you definitely want to be prepared. And you also want to add a resume of where you have been and what qualifies you to open a restaurant, assuming that this is not a restaurant that is a regional or national chain. So that's a different situation because then the chain will automatically qualify you.
All right. Hold on to that one thought 1 second. We're going to go to a break. We have Leanne Sichel from, I butchered the name, Sichel from Toll Partners, and we're talking leasing. Hold on to that. We'll come back after the break, and we'll talk a little bit more about these specifics. And by the way, it's $1 million cash money, like the rappers say.
Okay. All right.
Comfort Keepers provides your loved one with loving in-home care.
Miles McNamara, certified senior advisor and owner of Comfort Keepers in-home care.
Our caregivers can help you in your own home, enhancing independence, creating safety and comfort. Our Comfort Keepers provide companionship, meal preparation, medication reminders, assistance with personal care, and even transportation to doctor's appointments. If someone you love can use a helping hand at home, visit comfortkeepers.com.
Or call 287-4200.
The VIP Grotto experience at the Ivy Day Spa. Your experience begins with a clay facial mask. Then you are painted with a soothing aloe vera shea butter coconut oil body mask. In temperatured chambers, you relax and allow the moisturizing masks to work their magic. Finally, you rinse off in a rainforest shower and finish with a pH balancing mist. Treat yourself to this hydrating and refreshing experience at the Ivy Day Spa. Call to reserve your VIP Grotto experience at 260-1244.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
Hometown. KHTS breaking news.
Sheriff's deputies received a call at 11:10 of an attempted abduction near the Nordstrom's rack near Valencia Boulevard and McBean Parkway. Deputies are still on the scene. For full details and the latest information, go to hometownstation.com or facebook.com/KHTS Radio.
Santa Clarita's hometown station. Hometown station.
KHTS AM 1220 and the new 98.1 FM.
Welcome back. Once again, you are listening to the hometown station, KHTS AM 1220 FM 98.1. This is Jesus Henao. This is the commercial hour. We talk commercial real estate here in Santa Clarita. We have Anne Sichel from Toll Partners Online. And during the break, I was talking to Leanne. She said, well, she wanted to know about this pizza place, what it's called. And it's funny. A while back, my daughters were young, and I'm like, look, we need to open up a pizza place. And I said, I have the name for it. And they're like, what is it? What, you know? And I tell them in Spanish, it's called El Ratón Mojado, which means the wet rat. And they're like, Daddy, no. I go, yes, it's going to work. It's going to be awesome. They didn't want to do it. So for this example, we're just going to call it, what did I say? Jesus is a rat pizza. That's what it is. That's what we're going to call it. Yeah, that's what we're going to call it. Jesus is rat pizza.
I think it's great.
Okay.
All right, and I was very well prepared for the fact that you were going to say that you have all cash. Well, lucky you. To put
cash
into
money, homie.
Cash money, yes, cash money. That's correct. So
I love that. It's Randy Moss. It's Randy Moss. It's a great quote.
Cash money.
You forgot to say the homie.
Right. You are too funny. Anyway.
So I have the resume. I have the cash.
Right.
I'm talking to the landlord. I've convinced him. I sat down with him and I said, hey, yeah, this guy's qualified. He's good to go. I like the business plan. I like the cash. He's going to take an SBA loan out to cover any additional expenses. We're good to go. Finances in place. What do I do next?
Okay, I think that you have, let's say, considering you have found your place and that you ensure you go to the city.
Leanne, you found the place. Of course it's the right place.
The right place. Yes, we have to talk about the right place. Mm-hmm. The most important thing is that the city agrees with your decision. You can walk right into planning, and you can say, hi, my name is Jesus, and I'm opening a special Raton, pizza parlor.
Raton, I like that.
Raton, yeah, pizza parlor. And we have a special cheese pizza, with all sorts of toppings and everything. It's going to be terrific, and I want to put it at this address. You give the city your address, because they're the ones who have to give you the certificate of occupancy. And they're going to say to you, first thing, what is it you're going to do to this space, and do you have permits to do it? So you have to make sure, you have a general contractor who really knows something about, restaurant space. If it isn't already built out, I'm assuming it's not built out.
Do I need an architect?
And you need an architect,
Do you know a good one you would recommend me?
I do, Carolina Henao. Yes, I do, actually. She's fabulous, and she's worked with me on another building, and I really liked her design ideas, and she is very reasonable. So anyway, and she's got, good insight as to what buildings should look like in the Santa Clarita area, which is really important. The city is still growing. So anyway, you've gone down. Planning is giving you a list of things that you need to do and need to accomplish if you're going to do a build out and that type of thing, and they're going to instruct you and show you the way that it's actually done. So you need to get all that in order. And the most important thing is that you have appropriate parking. Parking is really the key to restaurants. Every city varies, depends on what city you're in. I don't know from day to day. I actually go to planning every time I do a deal. The most important thing, first thing that I ask is, do I have enough parking? And they give me a parking plan. And their parking plan can change. You always want to make sure you have enough parking. And restaurant parking can be extreme. They can demand a lot of parking. And so you absolutely want to make sure that's
Well, I'm going to have the hottest
completed.
pizza place in town, so of course I need parking. And luckily, we're going to be doing it at the New Hall Crossing, and that's like 6-story, 5-story structure there. So there's plenty of parking. So they give me the thumbs up. It's good. I got the parking.
Okay.
My architect says, hey, we can do it. It's going to be the best pizza in town, the best-looking joint in town. Then what?
Well, then you're going to want to know what the landlord really wants from you, how much the rent is going to be, and then he's going to tell you, in addition to the rent, he's going to charge you something called, we call it a triple net, your common area charges, combination of taxes, insurance, and maintenance. And an important question to ask is are there reserves? It could be reserves for a parking lot or a roof. And when you have reserves, the landlord can bill you quarterly for monies going into the reserves. And sometimes the reserves are full, and so you don't have to pay that money. But you want to make sure that you are prepared to pay those additional expenses. That is not included in your rent. They are separate charges, and you will get billed on a monthly basis your separate charges. And that depends on who the landlord is, whether they – it's not a good idea, I don't believe, to combine it. I think it's better so you can see what your expenses, your actual expenses are. And the landlord, is responsible for letting you know what the exact expenses are. And some do it on a quarterly basis, some do it on a half-yearly basis, and some do it only on a yearly basis. You want to find out when you are allowed to see what all those bills are for. So
interesting enough you say that, because I'm paying for the common area maintenance, which is the taxes, the lights, the insurance, the cleanup of the area, and then on top of that, I have a separate bill, which is a good idea to keep it separate, to know what the reserves are. And the reserves can be maybe we have to fix the roof in 10 years, so you're putting in that kitty to have those funds. If the roof goes bad, then we can change it, or maybe an AC. Et cetera, et cetera. That's very interesting. And also, by the way, that's good to do to have those separate accountings, because the separate accounts, because when you're doing your accounting, those are write-offs on your business expenses. You can write it off, and it's good to allocate that. And I say that because I have to go send my taxes after the radio show. I'm going to to go my business to file my taxes. So but you want to have those itemized. It's a very good idea to do that. Okay. So I understand. I can live with it. It's reasonable. Looks good. And I say, okay, I'm good with your terms, or I can negotiate the terms. Right? Can I always negotiate?
You can always negotiate. I think the most important thing is to put a proposal in front of the landlord. Now, some landlords like to write their own proposals. It could go either way. But typically in a retail situation, such as the Raton Pizza Parlor, that would be in a retail situation, not an office building. And it could change. It could be part office building. But usually they'll separate it out and make it a retail situation, which is, the additional common area charges are attached to that retail situation. And sometimes the landlord has a lease that they have prepared that they want the broker of the tenant to fill out with the tenant, and then have the tenant sign it. They send it back to them. And at that time, yes, you could technically, in a proposal, come back and propose. And usually you do that before you get into actual lease signings. You don't start negotiating at the end of the deal. You want to start in the beginning. So if you're not comfortable with the lease, terms exactly, and you want it to be a little bit less money, you could always ask for a month or two of free rent up front, or a scattered month or two of free rent throughout the first year, or the first month of each year for 2 years, free rent, and that would give you also some relief on cash flow. So it depends on how you want to do it. But as far as negotiating, do it up front. Do not wait to the end.
Just to summarize a little bit. So I go and I hire you and I say, okay, Leanna, this is what I'm willing to do. I'm going to write a letter of intent saying, hey, this is what I intend to do. I want to pay this much rent. I'm willing to contribute this much for CAM or this much for reserves. But in addition to that, I know I'm going to have to build this place out. It's going to take me what? What usually does it take to build out a...
it's going to take you an easy 4 months, I think, to build out a whole kitchen and everything else. It could take 4 months. It could take 3 months. And you can specify if it only takes you 3 months, not 4 months to get it. You have to plan your permits, your inspections, all that type of thing. And it depends. If there's already a kitchen in place, you may only need a month or two. It depends. You have to get a bid from a contractor. You definitely want to bring your contractor in before you even get into negotiations and have them look at the space. Yes, you can write a letter of intent and say, this is what I'd like to do. This is a time period. Give me 2 weeks, to get my contractor in place. I'm definitely interested. Your price is right. But I need my contractor in there to let me know what my time frame is.
And in addition to that, I think the more important piece is the architect, because the contractor is like, I can build it. I'll build anything. I'll put I'll do it. No problem. I can do it. I can build it out. But sometimes you need, I think most of the times you need the architect, because the architect is going to say, look, I see the space. Here's how you have to do it to, number one, cut down on time. Correct. 2, to be able to get it approved easily through city. Right, through planning. So they're going to look at it and say, this makes sense. The architect is going to know the code. They're going to know there's also something called ADA, the American Disability Act, and then you have health department. I mean, there's a bunch of things. But so you want to have that good architect in place in conjunction with the contractor, because the contractor sees the client has the vision. The contractor says, yes, I can build it. And the architect is really the backbone that says, hey, I'm going to get this through city and make sure it jives, and our time's going to be cut, and they're going to give you the approval to build this. And again, the biggest thing, and because I'm in the same office with my wife, I always hear it doesn't pass health department. And why? And health department will put the kibosh on everything with just having the wrong type of drain or the grease trap. And they will hold up your deal for a month, 2 months, because you submit. They come out, inspect. No, it didn't pass. It goes back. You make the corrections. You have to talk to them, see what they really like. Then they got to come back and look again. So you're a month into this deal before they give you the thumbs up. And a drain, and I know this because this happened to my wife in a coffee shop. The health department hung it up for close to a month for a grease trap.
Right.
That was it.
The grease trap can be under the sink, or it can be out in the street. You just don't know what the architect's going to do. So, yes, absolutely, you're 100% accurate. That could totally hold you up.
And by the way, that grease trap we're talking about costs the owner $3,000 to put in. Not to put it in, but the item itself was $3,000 and a month's delay.
Yep.
So, again, we go back to have a good architect, have a good contractor, have a good a commercial agent helping you. Okay, so we negotiate back and forth. I say I want some rent abatement, some free rent for 3 months, 4 months to get everything rocking and rolling. He agrees to it. He signs off on the letter of intent, and he says, "Look, Leanne, I want to use an AIR form, the American Industrial Real Estate Form."
Correct.
And then he says, "This is what I want." And you say, "Okay." So what happens next? We're all on the same page. Everybody's in agreement. You get the AIR form and you start filling it out. What's in there?
The multi-tenant AIR form it's pretty standard. What's in the let me just pull one out here. I happen to have one.
Well, I think deposit is one, right? And rent.
Yes, deposit, rent, both parties, the addresses, the requirements. Whether it's a lease, depends on you want to put the address of the location, and you want to spell out your triple net charges. So basically, the terms of the lease are going to be in there. Is this a 5-year lease with a 1 option or 2 options?
What does that mean? What is an option? What is that?
An option generally means that you have the right.
Because we want the Raton pizza to flourish.
You want it to flourish. So you're anticipating you could be there 20 years, or you may want to assign your lease. You don't know. So let's say
I can sell the business, right, and somebody else will take it over, right? Take over the business?
That's correct. A lot of landlords will only do a 5-year lease with a 1-year option or a 2-year option. Typically for a restaurant, you can count on them hopefully being there 10 to 15 years. That's a pretty good hopeful.
And the option, what's the option? Yeah, go ahead.
The option allows you to upfront set the terms of the new lease. In other words, if you're paying, let's just say $1.50 a square foot for 5 years, let's just say you're paying us, just an example, and without counting in the triple net charges, it's going to allow you to either negotiate upfront your $1.50. Let's say the landlord wants to raise it 5% or 10%. Let's say now you're paying $1.75. You can set that term now. However, knowing that sometimes interest rates and, cost of living, it's been so up and down, in the last quite a few years, we don't know exactly where we're going to be. You could actually, in your option, ask for an increase of no more than 5% based on the consumer price index. You can also go that way. Doesn't matter. It just depends on what you want to ask for. So your option means that you have something to sell. Because you're a restaurant, you have your business to sell, you have your ovens to sell, you have your pizza recipes to sell, and you have a lease to sell. So when you go to sell your business, let's say you want to get out after 5 years and you decide, well, now you've got 1 option or 2 option or 3 options, whatever you decided with the landlord, and that person can elect, he should be able to take those options along with the property. So that's a very good thing for someone if you were going to sell. And it's also a very good thing for you because you know in the future where you stand. If you need to get out of your business, you're going to go looking for another space. Or if you need to stay there and your business is flourishing and you want to open a second location, you have a really strong lease. So you can say, yes, I'm opening my second location. So there's a lot of good things about an option.
Great. So I'm in this place for 5 years. The Raton Pizza is doing great. I'm busting out the seams. It's doing awesome. I have a lot of birthday parties there, etc. And I say, you know what? I want to do sushi now.
Okay.
And I can put that business for sale, right? According to what you're telling me. And the new buyer of the pizza place, he can say, look, I can say, hey, look, this is a great opportunity because I've been here 5 years. I've demonstrated how well it's doing. I'm selling the business. And by the way, you don't have to renegotiate the lease. You have the option here, or you have 2 options. So you can stay here for the next 10 years with a small increase in rent, take over the business, cash me out, and I'll go, do what I want to do. I'll open up, the Raton sushi place.
Well, the Raton sushi place, right, exactly. So while you're opening the Raton sushi place, the landlord, who actually has control the lease, he's the one who controls the lease. The landlord is going to say 2 things to you. Wow, that's really nice. You want somebody to assume your lease. Then you get into, with what is the financial statement and business plan of the new person? Can he financially sustain it? And if his financials are better than yours, he might let you assign the lease. If his financials are less than yours, then he might ask you to remain on the lease, and it would be a sublease where you would actually be a sublessor. So you have to be careful when you go to sell a business that the person who is financially taking over your process, that you have discussed this with the landlord to see what he is looking for as far as a new tenant, to take over your business. Now,
interesting enough, you say that, and I think the AIR form has this. It'll say under what terms and conditions the landlord will let you sublease or assign the lease over without anything unreasonably being held, that you'll be able to do it, correct?
That's correct, and don't forget that the new purchaser or the original tenant is going to be responsible if the landlord incurs, any legal fees or any management fees in relationship to doing this. That you are going to be responsible. Somebody is going to be responsible for paying those fees, and probably in order to get the deal done, you will be responsible. It's possible the buyer will, but sometimes the buyer pays the assumption, the lease assumption, and sometimes not. So it's really up to you how you want to handle
There's
it.
a lot of good things, and I think that's why the AR form is important. If somebody gives you something
Very.
else, you think about it twice. You want to have somebody that's qualified, that knows what they're doing, because those are the terms, and it gives you, the owner of the pizza place, it gives you the flexibility of doing what you want to do. If you want to stay in, if you want to get out, if you want to sell the business, or maybe how about expanding? I mean, say the tenant next door is says their business goes under or they close. You can also have the option to knock down the wall and open up a larger place, right? If you wanted to expand it.
Sure, and you could actually put that in your first lease if you wanted to. That you have, if the landlord will agree to it, that you have the first right of refusal to expand into the space to the left of you or to the right of you, whatever you want to, and name the space, and with the same terms and conditions of your existing lease. Now, if it just comes up and you decide you want to expand, you again have to go to the city and ask them, is there enough parking and blah, blah, blah. So you definitely want to make sure that you are capable, city-wise, of expanding into the space, get your architect involved again and talk to the contractor and make sure that that's something you want to do. Some landlords will give you a first right of refusal, and the first right of refusal doesn't guarantee that you're going to get the space. It just says, I have the first right of refusal. The landlord's going to put that property on the market, let's say, for $1.85. If he can get $1.85, he comes back to you and he says, by the way, I can get $1.85. You're only at $1.75. Are you going to pay me that 10 cents a square foot difference? So that can happen in a first right of refusal. So there's a lot of ways to go.
All right, we're going to go to a break, Leanne. We're going to take a small break, and then we'll be right back, and we'll wrap up the show. I have some other questions to ask. But once again, thank you for coming on, and just hold on tight. We'll be right back. This is KHTS, the Commercial Hour. Thank you.
Thanks.
Santa Clarita Philharmonic has begun its season of free concerts. The SCP is a non-profit community-based volunteer symphony orchestra comprised of local musicians from throughout the Santa Clarita Valley who are dedicated to providing quality classical music for the residents of the Santa Clarita Valley. Like the Santa Clarita Philharmonic on Facebook or visit santaclaritaphilharmonic.org for more information.
The Santa Clarita Artists Association is hosting our annual gala, the Art Classic, Saturday, September 29th from 1:30 to 5 p.m. This fundraiser highlights professionally judged original artwork by local artists in all mediums. For only $25, you can enjoy live music, wine, hors d'oeuvres, and meet the artists in person. The Art Classic will be held at Hart Hall in Hart Park. All artwork will be on display for free public viewing Sunday, September 30th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. For tickets and more information, visit us at santaclaritaartists.org.
You're going places, and College of the Canyons can get you there. It's not too late to register for fall classes. COC has 5 and 8 week term classes beginning in October and November. Pick up an extra general education class or take a class that piques your interest, like psychology, astronomy, dinosaurs, wines of Spain, and more. Want to take free classes? COC is offering free career skill classes this fall. Visit canyons.edu/class schedule now.
Hometown station.
KHTS AM 1220 and the new 98.1 FM.
Welcome back. This is Jesus Henao, the Commercial Hour with Leola Commercial. I have Anne Sichel from Toll Partners on the line. And we've been talking about leases, how leases work. And to wrap up the show, I usually like to ask my guests that come on what advice they have for people wanting to get into the business that want to do either leasing or commercial sales. But before that, Leanne, give us your contact information. How can we get a hold of you if somebody out there wants to get a lease going? How can we get a hold of you?
Okay, very easily. I usually answer my cell phone, and I can give you that. That's 818-317-6188, and I use that for business. And you can leave a message anytime. My direct line at Toll Partners is 818-466-0244, and you can leave a message, and I'll pick up my messages, or you can call my direct line
Fantastic.
So that's pretty easy. Yeah.
Fantastic. So what advice do you got for the guy that, is his third year in college? He's thinking about real estate. He likes the idea of being in sales or leasing. How do they get involved? What advice would you give him?
I think the most important thing to understand about sales, any kind, whether it's residential or commercial, is this is a service business. You have to think of yourself. Part of the leasing or sales is you are selling your ability to help someone. And I think the most important thing is you have to really like your product. When you sell something, even if you're selling, a scrub brush, you have to like that scrub brush. So you have to really like looking at buildings, like to know about them, understand a little bit of the construction, what makes a building tick, what makes a community grow, what makes, people want to change locations and everything like that. And I think the most important thing is you have to really like real estate because you can't be in it unless you really like it. And it doesn't mean you have to talk about it 24/7, but you do have to think about the direction that you're going. Most important thing, do you like sales, do you like leasing, or do you like it all? And what particular genre of real estate that you like, whether you like residential because you love houses or whether you like commercial because you like commercial. Very few people can really, in my opinion, cross over from one to the other easily. It just is two different items, just two different items. And I think the most important thing is that you have the availability to know that you may work weekends and you may work nights, just a fact of life, whenever the deal happens, you got to go for it.
It's interesting you say that. I've been training a couple of guys, taking them on as interns. I got about 3 guys that are coming in, interning with me. And they were thinking that, I said, look, you have to think of this as a career. Because they were in the person's mind, the intern's mind, he was thinking, "Oh, this is a part-time thing, and I'll come in the afternoon and I'll work." And I noticed it real quick, and I told him, "Look, this business doesn't work that way. This is an actual business. This is something you do from 7, 8 in the morning till 6, 7 at night. This is your business. This is not a part-time thing." Versus on the residential side, it's more of a part-time thing because you don't roll into the office until the afternoon, 12, 1 o'clock. You're working on the weekends, putting up your signs, going to the open houses, etc. Totally different than what we do. What we do is a 7 or 8 to 6 job, not 9 to 5, 8 to 6, because you are working on commission, so there is no pay. You're working on sales, you're working on lead generation, you're out there hustling, you're trying to make things work, and you're servicing the client. And that client might call you 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. I remember I did a deal one time. I sold an apartment building. I was with the client. He was an accountant. The only time he had to talk to me was at 2 in the morning, 2 a.m. And
I don't know whether I'd answer that call, but okay.
I would.
Yep, you're right. And you got the deal, and I didn't. So there you go.
I would. He said, "Hey, I can't talk, but I can talk at 1 in the morning." I said, "You'll get my call at 1 in the morning." I'm up to the challenge. And I've also had the other guy that says, "Hey, I can only talk at 6 in the morning." And I said, "Oh, no problem. You'll get the call at 6 a.m." And that's what it takes to do the deal. So on that, those are extreme cases, by the way. But for the most part, you're 9 to 5, et cetera. And it comes back down to what you want to do and how motivated you are. You can accomplish anything as long as you put your mind to it and you put forth the effort. Would you agree with that?
I would totally agree with it. And the most important thing is that you be true to yourself and true to your client, is that don't make something up. If you don't know something, it's so much easier to say, I don't know, and I'll get right back to you. That, to me, is probably the best advice that was ever given to me, and it saved me in so many situations.
That's what they taught me in the Marine Corps. I don't know, but I will find out.
Correct.
That was the correct answer. Do you know this?
Correct answer.
I do not know, but I will find out. And you believe? I've used that before, and I've said it before with all sincerity, and the client respects you for it. He says, "Okay, I prefer to give you the correct answer and research it, so we don't make any missteps in the future." That's great advice too. So, and when you guys started, did you do an internship, or you just go in the real estate? You go in cold turkey, or how did you do it?
Well, actually, I went in cold turkey. In those days, I took a phone book, and I just started going down the phone book and actually started trying to lease for a company down in Baseline, Ontario area. and worked my way up to Beverly Hills. And then I used to walk, from one end of Robertson to the other, and then along Rodeo, and I got to know everybody. And mostly I stopped in and said hi, and it didn't matter. I started at 8 o'clock in the morning and probably didn't finish up till the stores closed, 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And my daughter went with me sometimes, and sometimes I went alone, and a lot of times I went with other brokers, and, it was just kind of what we did. And I think that's what you have to do. You have to call, introduce yourself. A lot of people don't like to be bothered. A lot of people email back and forth now. I don't know, every situation's different, but you have to make yourself available to the general public. That's the most important thing. And you have to let people see your face and see who you are. It's, when you shake their hand, they're going to know, that you're serious. So that's my feeling.
Absolutely. There's a song, a Spanish song, the music genre you probably won't know. It's called vallenato, which is music in Colombia. Has a lot of accordion, and then there's a song called Mi Muchacho, which means my son. And in that song, it's the father is telling his son, giving him advice and going through, telling him about his life story, how he appreciated his son and vice versa. And he tells him this. He gives him this one advice to the son in the song. He says, I don't care what you become. If you become a doctor, great. If you become a shoe shiner, that's fine. The advice I give you is become the best shoe shiner in the world. And whatever you decide to do out there, whether it's your real estate, whether it's insurance, financial services, detailing cars, and there's people that do great job on detailing cars. Be the best. Be the best you can be. Give it all. Live it. Understand the business. Know all aspects of it. Engulf in it. Be willing to put forth the effort. And whatever you do, you will be successful if you take it serious and you take the time to research, study, and know your trade better than anybody else. That's the best advice I think I can give, along with yours also.
Well, I have to agree with you 100%. I think that's a great statement that you just made, and very truthful. So that's what it's all about.
All right, Leanne, thank you so much for coming on, and I will be out next week. I'll be in Washington, D.C., so you'll have the best stuff next week. But thank you for coming in. That's Anne Sichel from Toll Partners, and this is the Commercial Hour. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.